Okay, hi everyone, and welcome to another Science Me video where I will talk about, this time, a reaction to something that Neil deGrasse Tyson said wrongfully again. Let's watch. Oh, where's the video? It's here.
So Einstein asked this question: if you're in a car traveling near the speed of light and you put on your headlights, what would happen? Well, okay, you're made of matter, so you can't travel at the speed of light, but let's go just one notch less. 99.999999999%. Okay. You put on your headlights, you see no difference. It's like putting on your headlights if you were not going that fast. That's what relativity means. Your motion is just...
I'm gonna have to stop you already right there. You are wrong, sir. But let's listen.
Relative to anybody else's motion, and as far as you're concerned, you're standing still, and everything else is moving around you. So,
No. You are a bullet going at, say, 99% the speed of a bullet, otherwise known as a photon.
it'll make no difference to you. You'll describe other things differently as they go by you, but as far as your headlights work, they'll just be just fine.
Actually, no. The way that your headlights would work out in space, okay, going at 99 point whatever the speed of light, you're going to notice that, let's say you're moving at 1 millimeter per 10 seconds, okay? Or 100 meters a second. And light, let's just pretend that light is moving at 101 meters per second. You can do this by freezing a piece of plastic, apparently, and shining a light through it. That's a real weird conundrum. So what would happen, basically? Well, light is going to continue to move at its regular speed of c, which is near 300 million meters per second. The normal speed. But if you shrink that down into just you going 100 and light going 101, what that really means is that light is going to move away from you at 1 meter per second, or whatever I was saying in the beginning per second, right? It's not going to be going at light speed relative to you. It's going at light speed. And you are going only near light speed. Basically, your speed doesn't change how fast the light is going. So the moment you start having yourself move faster than the speed of light, for example, or let's say you start moving at the speed of light, well, the light's just going to be collected inside of the light bulb. It's not going to move because it can't go faster than you. You're going at the speed of light. So the light just collects there, being emitted, but it can't do anything. Let's just ignore the fact that the circuits in your car aren't going to work at light speed. So how did you get your light to turn on? Let's forget about that. Don't answer that question, because he didn't have time to answer that. But, or he didn't even think of answering that. Your circuits won't even work. Circuits work at below light speed already. Electricity works at slightly under light speed. That's how that works. The thing about it is, if you have if you start going faster than the speed of light, let's say you go 0.0501% the speed of light faster than light. In other words, c plus 0.00001. That was too many zeros. I don't care. Just bear with me. 0.000. Yeah, I said one too many zeros. I'll admit that. Okay? Moving on. So the idea is, if you go slightly faster than the speed that light is able to travel, if you're able to emit light particles, they're going to start bouncing back towards you. And because they can't escape your velocity, because they literally don't have the ability to go any faster than they already are, which is light speed, it's like you having a runner in front of you, and the runner is not able to keep up with you, and you're starting to overtake it. You're going to start running into light particles at the speed of, say, well, depending on the percentage of the speed of light, faster than the particles. Depending on the medium, again, it matters because light runs technically slower in a medium. They say technically slower because it bounces around. It's doing a lot while it's still in the medium. It's actually going slower. But the point is, you're going faster than light. The light is still only going at light speed. You're going to be bumping into that light at the speed that is the difference between light speed and your speed. So if you go 1% the speed of light faster than light speed, that would be 30 million meters per second is how fast you're hitting those light particles. Not advised. 1% faster than the speed of light if you have the particles hitting you. Like, the particles are going to hit you no matter what, with like light coming from everywhere, but light coming from your own light bulb. Just focusing on that, it's going to run straight for your ship. Right? Which, if you, like, instead of going 30 million meters per second faster than light speed, let's say you just go 1 meter a second faster than light speed. Just one. That's a small percentage of the speed of light faster than the speed of light, but you're still going 1 meter per second relative to light, which means you're going to hit that light at 1 meter per second. In 2 seconds, the light's going to pass straight for your ship, car, whatever. So there's that. I mean, you could hope that the light is let's say the best case scenario, and you have a nice little reflector in your headlights. People have that. Sure. Okay. It's going to melt the headlight. It's going to melt the headlight. It's going to go straight through the back of the car. There is no stopping this thing. It cannot handle being hit that hard. Or the other idea is, what if instead of being like a laser, it gets absorbed by the particles? Now you have radioactive particles instead of headlights, which will immediately stop working. So good luck in having them work again. They burnt out because all that light pressure is just going to burn, literally incinerate the light bulb. It's like if you put a magnifying glass on the light filament. not a good idea. Depending on how long it was running for and all that stuff. Maybe, now, if you're going like twice the speed of light, yeah, they're definitely going to get totally fried by any light you emit. That's an interesting thing. It's not good. It's not good. And if you don't, again, think about light that is emitted from everything else that's just out there in the universe, like stars light. It's not very intense, but once you start going near the speed of light and beyond, again, you're hitting those particles at incredible speeds. You're gonna get shredded. Not even to mention the fact that, of course, like he said, you can't go the speed of light. You can. This also puts a damper on the Cubier drive. Yep, because light doesn't give a crap whether or not it enters your vacuum bubble. You're warping space around everything. A high pressure zone and a low pressure zone. Right? Light doesn't give a crap about your low pressure zone. The Cubier drive is going to fry everyone with incinerating lasers. Radiation. If it works, which it might not. Also, you don't... Also, I don't like to have to explain the fact that you don't need exotic negative mass matter. All you need is electromagnetism, and you can make negative mass type effects. That's not even hard. You just need like an electromagnet. You can have the negative. It's just magnets. You can do this. I mean, all you need is a reactor powerful enough to power it. But I mean, there's ways of doing that. I mean, we used all sorts of... I know that we used an entire factory of power in order to power the Helion reactor. Did you see that thing? That thing's crazy. The Helion reactor uses an entire factory, an entire warehouse of these water tanks that are big. They're the size of like your television and just as wide and just as tall. And they hold like 1 joule of electricity each. All of that lightning energy is as powerful as it is, flows into the Helion reactor. So that all the electromagnets are holding everything in place in the core of their reactor. Of course, the problem is they're still not using sound. What's wrong? What's wrong with you guys? You can't hold neutrons with electromagnetism. That's why they're called neutrons. Use sound, please. Hello? We know that we can manipulate matter with sound. Why not do that with the neutrons of any reactor? I mean, it's not going to be as good with a tokamak reactor. It's just not. Compression is much more powerful than using a vortex, in the fact that you don't have to worry about the neutrons flying away if they're just pressed. Okay? So if you just press them together enough, but you also use sound waves, like the standing waves that you use to hold water droplets, only a little bit more powerful, a little bit more refined energy, you'll be able to get yourself some serious control over the neutrons, and it'll be a lot more likely that your reactor will not degrade because it's not being hit by neutrons and eroded, and you won't have to likely the neutrons are going to reintegrate into other particles as time goes on, as the reaction continues. Not to mention the fact that you can start to have a high concentrate. If you have an even larger amount of power supply to hold this energy in place, you can make energy out of that incredibly well. They just were using the electromagnetism to make they were just using the electromagnetism to make half the input power, like literally half. Well, guess what? How hard is it to make 2 cores? And use literally by volume alone, you end up using, if you have 4 cores, you can use the same amount of power that it would take to hold 2 cores in place and hold 4 cores in place. And then you would have literally a gain of power. Don't focus on just 1 core. Make multiple. Many much Moosin. That's my advice to Helion. As far as Neil deGrasse Tyson is concerned, please learn how light works. It goes at its own speed, at its own rate, irrelevant of anything else. So if you start going near the speed of light, you're going to catch up to the light if it ever goes for a medium that slows it down. Or also, who am I kidding? You can go faster than the speed of light. Just because you think that you can't doesn't mean you can't. I mean, part of the reason why you can't go faster than the speed of light isn't just that you would be hit by something. It's that the electromagnetic bonds that hold anything together would just break down. So, again, the Cuvier drive is going to make a bubble go around the ship, and it's going to have you expect that you're going to be moving space around the ship. That includes light. Unfortunately, light travels in a straight line. It doesn't matter what atmosphere. Like you could bounce the light off by simply having like a little bit of water shielding in the front so that it's refracted or something. So refraction, the light, it gets bounced away. That's not hard to do, but you would have to do that. Otherwise, you're going to be hyper irradiated and dead, and possibly lasered and blow up. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk. Yeah. No, light gives a damn if you're going as fast as it. Seriously. But you have to understand, these are the same people who think time dilation exists. It does not. The motion of the object you are hitting and then reflecting back to the sensor so you can have your atomic clocks work is called a moving target problem, in the fact that the faster you go, the light has more distance to travel. Seriously. Depending on the fraction of the speed of light, the amount of extra distance that you are traveling, if it's 10,000 meters per second, if you start going 10,001 meter per second, you are changing the distance from the emitter to the particle to the sensor. That entire two-way trip is altered by your slight deviation in speed. Yes, I have a lovely body pillow. It's not time dilation. It's a moving reflector. Please grow up. Literally, the moment that you understand the speed of your satellite and how that affects the light's travel path in the little atomic clock, you will be able to compensate for these different speeds, and, not to mention, it's important to know what direction it's traveling in. If your laser is going up and down, and you're going this way, right? It matters if you make a sharp turn. That totally light likes to go in a straight line. So if you make any turns, which you're going around a planet, you're always making turns. You're doing nothing but making turns. The only difference is the amount of turn you're making versus the orbit around the Earth. It's relatively flat. It's not flat. It's relatively flat. Okay? You start decelerating and moving towards the planet, you're changing the distance that you're traveling, you're changing the speed that you're traveling, and then you have to do a burn to get back up to speed and get back into your orbit position. Yeah, you're going to lose, your atomic clock is going to lose a lot of different moments of time. Seemingly indistinguishable moments, but they are noticeable. If it's enough to change it by a second over a week, yeah, that's noticeable. That's still something. And it's not time dilation. Please actually know what you're talking about. But I mean, I could talk about the no-slit experiment and how people seem to forget the fact that the electron is a low bar magnet and the electromagnetic field is like the ocean that is everywhere, and the electrons are just pumping that electromagnetism through them, like any magnet. I've already talked about those things too much in other videos and at length and whatever else. So if you want to find out what my opinion is on that, go check out those other videos or tell me in the comments if you want to hear me talk about the double slit experiment, how it actually works, why the particle moves based on an interference pattern, all that stuff. I can tell you. It's actually really simple. Like any fluid, the electromagnetism is, I'll just say it, the electromagnetism is flowing through both slits at the same time. It interferes with itself, making the interference pattern. The determining factor of where the electron bumps into is like nanoscopically tiny differences between where it was shot from the gun, or also, remember that the double slit is also made out of atoms, which are also having electrons around them, and the orbits of those electrons could be at their apex towards the electron, so that you end up having as the electron is pushing through, whatever orbital is closest to it is going to bump it in the opposite direction, and that's why it goes into one of those different slots. That's why you see the interference pattern. It's just like any dot going through water, going through the wave, through and you make a wave go through the double slit on a macroscopic thing, right? depending on where it landed as it goes through the slit, it can only the interference pattern is a couple of waves all pushing, and what ends up happening is you have a crest on this side and a crest on that side. The particle can only be in the middle, and it's a band of these different crests, these different channels that you can send the particle through, right? So knowing about that, you should be able to understand how fluid dynamics work and how the double slit experiment happens. But for some reason, Neil had I think it was 6 months ago or something, he said that no one knows how double slit experiment works, why the particle does what it does, because they think that it is a wave. It is not a wave. It is a particle. Photons can be waves. Electron is definitely actually an object. It is a particle. It's a little bead. It's a tiny little pump magnet. And yeah. Anyway, if you found this interesting, consider subscribing and check out my Science Me playlist, where I talk about all sorts of things science, make reactions like this, or talk about other things, as well as the Simon Taster videos, which I talk about my sandwiches and my weird drink. Today's drink is a combination of some milk, orange pop, and green goodness. It's water. I know this doesn't make me look sane, but I mean, besides the water, the milk and pop and juice is like having a banana split, but also like a root beer float type idea. Only it's a tiny bit different flavors and stuff, and the water, it tastes fine. No, it doesn't make my belly hurt at all. No. I drink these pretty much every day. So if I was sick from those, you would know. I had a serious bout of anger yesterday. I haven't been streaming because I've had some issues with things, but also, hey, family day. I spent it with my family. My parents came over, we watched some movies, some game shows and stuff. It was fun. It was good. Played bowling with work people. You know, they didn't mind because they were watching a movie. It was only for an hour, so it was fine. It's like, yeah, I want to go back to doing some streaming, but I'm taking some breaks, doing so. I feel like I owed you something, and the moment I see Neil talk about this stuff, and he's still saying things he doesn't know, we gonna throw down. We are gonna throw down in a debate like you never believe. I'm gonna have a talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson eventually. And I'm going to be asking him, are you embarrassed about your stating that no one understood how a double slit experiment worked? And it'll all be like lighthearted and stuff, and it'll be good. But it's like seriously, how long did you think time dilation existed? 40 years? Like 60 years? I don't know. It doesn't. Okay, whatever.